Hey, I'm Emily, 35, a graphic designer with two amazing but exhausting kids, and my life felt like a never-ending hamster wheel. Every day, I'd drag myself out of bed at 6 a.m., whip up breakfast, pack lunches, and wrestle my 5- and 7-year-olds into their shoes before diving into client deadlines. Meanwhile, my husband Jake, he'd be sprawled on our worn-out couch, working on his freelance writing. I'd come home to a sink overflowing with dishes, toys scattered like landmines, and Jake glued to his laptop claiming he was researching. My heart sank every single time. I married a partner, not a roommate. Why was I carrying the whole dang world on my shoulders? I'd beg him to help, fold laundry, pay a bill, anything. But he'd just mumble, "I'm on it, Em," and nothing changed. I felt invisible, like my efforts were just background noise. At night, I'd lie awake, resentment burning hotter than a summer day, wondering where the Jake I fell in love with went. We met in college, both bursting with dreams. He wanted to write epic novels. I wanted to design stunning visuals. 10 years later, I was drowning in responsibilities, and he was coasting. I tried talking, pleading, even crying, but he'd shrug, saying, "Writing's tough right now." Tough? Try being a mom, a breadwinner, and a maid all at once. One night, I snapped. I stood in our cluttered living room, hands trembling, voice shaking, and said, "Jake, I can't do this alone anymore." He looked up, eyes tired, and said, "You're overreacting, Em." That hit me like a punch. The betrayal wasn't just him slacking, it was the broken promises, the dreams we built together crumbling. I felt like a fool for believing in him, for hoping he'd step up. My heart ached, but anger took over. I started imagining a life without him, one where I wasn't so dang exhausted, but a tiny voice whispered, "What if I'm being too hard on him?" I shoved it down. I deserved better, didn't I? My kids deserved a mom who wasn't always stressed out. I'd catch myself staring at Jake, hoping for a spark of the man I married, but he'd just tap away on his keyboard, oblivious. As a YouTuber, I'd tell you to channel this frustration into content. Make a video about marriage struggles or balancing life and love. Post it with a thumbnail that screams emotion, like a stressed-out mom's face. But back then, I was just a woman on the edge, ready to take control, even if it meant breaking my own heart in the process. Things hit rock bottom one rainy Tuesday. I got a call from the bank. Our car payment was overdue again. My stomach dropped. I'd reminded Jake 3 times to handle it, and he swore he would. I trusted him, like an idiot. When I got home, there he was, lounging on the couch, scrolling through his laptop like nothing was wrong. My blood boiled. I stood there, soaking wet from the rain, holding grocery bags, and yelled, "Jake, the car payment, we could lose it." He barely looked up, muttering, "You're overreacting. I'll figure it out." That was the last straw. My heart pounded with rage, betrayal cutting deeper than ever. This wasn't just about a bill. It was about him letting me down again and again. I thought back to our early days, when Jake would stay up late writing, his eyes lit with passion. Where was that guy? I felt cheated, like I'd been sold a lie. That night, I sat at the kitchen table, kids asleep, and let the tears come. I wasn't just angry, I was heartbroken. I'd given everything to this marriage, and he gave me excuses. I told him, "Jake, step up or I'm done." My voice cracked, begging for a reason to stay. He just sighed, saying, "I'm trying, Em." Trying? I was the one trying to keep our family afloat while he played couch potato. The next day, I called a lawyer. My hands shook as I dialed, guilt mixing with resolve. Was I giving up too soon? But I couldn't keep living like this, feeling alone in my own marriage. I thought about our kids, how they'd look at me if we lost the car, the house. I wanted to scream, to shake Jake until he cared. Instead, I filed for divorce. It felt like ripping my own heart out, but also like breathing for the first time in years. As a YouTuber, I'd tell you to turn this moment into a video, title it, "Why I Left My Marriage," and use a thumbnail of a tear-streaked face for clicks. Share it on Reddit, in subreddits like RI Relationships, but only in their advice threads, never self-promoting. Back then, though, I was just a woman done with being ignored. I packed a bag, moved to my sister's place, and told Jake we were over. He looked shocked, but said nothing. That silence hurt worse than any fight. I walked away, my heart heavy with regret, wondering if I'd just made the biggest mistake of my life. The divorce was final, and I felt like I'd run a marathon only to realize I was lost. I moved into a tiny apartment with my kids, their little faces confused as I tried to explain why Daddy wasn't coming with us. My heart ached every time my 7-year-old asked, "Is Dad mad at us?" I'd hug her tight, fighting tears, saying, "No, sweetie, it's just grown-up stuff." Inside, I was a mess, relieved to be free from Jake's laziness, but drowning in guilt. Had I been too harsh? I'd lie awake, replaying our fights, wondering if I'd missed something. The apartment was cramped, bills were tight, and I was scraping by on my graphic design gigs. Still, there was a spark of freedom. I wasn't cleaning up after Jake anymore. That felt like a win, even if it was lonely. Friends didn't help much. Some said I was brave, others whispered I'd overreacted. "He wasn't that bad," my sister said, and I wanted to scream. "Not that bad? Try living with a ghost who doesn't lift a finger." One day, I ran into our old neighbor at the grocery store. She mentioned Jake was working on some big project. I rolled my eyes. Another excuse, right? But her words stuck, like a splinter I couldn't pull out. Was he actually doing something? I shook it off, focusing on my kids and my new life. I started a routine, bedtime stories, late-night work, and coffee-fueled mornings. It was hard, but I felt stronger, like I was proving I could do this alone. Yet doubt crept in. I'd see Jake's old sweatshirt in my closet and feel a pang of regret. What if I'd waited? What if he wasn't just lazy? My heart wrestled with itself. Part of me wanted to hate him, to hold on to the betrayal. But another part missed the man I married. As a YouTuber, I'd tell you to make a video here. Life after divorce. What I wish I knew. Use a thumbnail with a tired but hopeful mom. Trust me, it'll pull views. Share it on Reddit's Our Divorce, but only in their support threads, answering questions first to build trust. Back then, though, I was just trying to survive. I'd tuck my kids in, their soft snores filling the quiet, and wonder if I'd traded one pain for another. The divorce was supposed to fix everything, but it left me raw, questioning if I'd thrown away something worth saving. One morning, I was sorting mail in my tiny apartment when I saw it, a bank statement addressed to Jake, but sent to me by mistake. My hands froze as I opened it, expecting another overdue notice. Instead, I saw a balance, $250,000. My jaw dropped. Jake, the guy I divorced for being a lazy bum, had a secret bank account with $250,000? My heart raced, a mix of shock and rage. How could he hide this? I sat on the floor staring at the numbers, my mind spinning. Was this why we struggled? I thought back to all those nights he was working late, hunched over his laptop. I'd assumed he was procrastinating, but now memories flooded in. His vague talk about investments, how he'd brush off money worries with a calm, "It'll be fine, Em." Had I been wrong about him? I dug deeper, calling the bank, pretending to be his assistant. They confirmed it. Jake had been depositing money for years, mostly from cryptocurrency trading. My stomach churned. He wasn't lazy. He was building something, secretly. Then it hit me. He'd mentioned wanting to surprise me with a dream house, but I'd laughed it off as another empty promise. Guilt washed over me, heavy and cold. Had I thrown away our marriage over a misunderstanding? But anger flared too. Why hide it? Why let me think he was useless? I felt betrayed all over again, but now it was messier, tangled with regret. I pictured our kids, how they'd suffered through the divorce, and my throat tightened. Was this money for them? For us? My mind raced to Reddit posts I'd read about husbands hiding cash, but this didn't feel like greed. It felt like Jake trying to prove himself. As a YouTuber, I'd say make a video called "I Found My Ex's Secret Money" with a shocked face thumbnail, post it to True Off My Chest, but only after engaging in their threads to avoid bans. Back then, I was reeling, torn between wanting to scream at Jake and wanting to cry for judging him so fast. I clutched that statement, my hands shaking, knowing I had to confront him. What was this money? Why didn't he trust me enough to tell me? The man I'd loved, then hated, wasn't who I thought. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. My whole world turned upside down. I couldn't wait another second. I called Jake and asked to meet at a coffee shop, my hands clutching that bank statement, like it was proof of everything I'd gotten wrong. When he walked in, he looked tired, older, but his eyes softened when he saw me. My heart twisted. Part of me wanted to yell, part of me wanted to cry. I slid the statement across the table and said, "Jake, what is this?" His face fell, and for the first time, I saw guilt in his eyes. He took a deep breath and explained. He'd been trading crypto for years, hiding it because he was terrified of failing me again. "I wanted to surprise you, Em," he said, voice cracking. "A house, college funds for the kids. I was so close." My chest tightened. He wasn't lazy. He was carrying a secret to protect me from his risky bets. But why not tell me? "I felt like less of a man," he admitted, staring at his coffee. "You were so strong and I was barely keeping up." His words hit hard. Regret flooded me. I judged him, divorced him, thinking he didn't care when he was trying in his own way. But I was angry too. He'd let me believe a lie, let our marriage break. Tears stung my eyes as I said, "You should have trusted me, Jake." He nodded, eyes wet. "I know. I messed up." We sat in silence, the weight of our choices heavy between us. I thought of our kids, how they deserved better than our mistakes. We didn't fall back in love, no fairy tale ending here, but we found something else, understanding. We agreed to co-parent better, to be honest, to rebuild trust for our kids' sake. As I left, I felt lighter, like I'd let go of the revenge I'd clung to. Forgiveness wasn't easy, but it was freedom. I realized I hadn't just divorced Jake for his laziness. I'd been running from my own pain too. As a YouTuber, I'd make a video, why I forgave my ex-husband, use a thumbnail with a hopeful smile, post it to our relationships, but only in their reconciliation threads after engaging. Driving home, I thought I was escaping a lazy man, but I almost lost a partner who was trying, flawed as he was. What else don't we know about the ones we love? I'm still figuring it out, one day at a time.